The desert was quiet, painted in soft orange as the sun dipped behind the hills. A gentle wind whispered through the tall grass, brushing the side of a small Mustang foal, no older than a few weeks. His tiny hooves stumbled as he followed closely behind his mother. She was strong, wild, and free, the leader of a small herd that roamed the land untamed. But on this day, something felt wrong. From the shadows of the canyon cliffs, a predator watched. His eyes were sharp, glowing faintly in the fading light. A lone wolf, lean from hunger and driven by desperation, had been tracking the herd for days. Not for the adults, too strong, too dangerous. But the baby, the foal, he was small and vulnerable. The foal strayed a little too far, distracted by a fluttering butterfly. Just a few more feet away from the safety of his mother's side. That was all it took. Suddenly, a blur of fur and fury. The mother Mustang neighed, a high-pitched cry of terror and rage. The herd scattered. Dust flew everywhere. The wolf clamped his jaws around the foal's neck, not to kill, but to carry. The baby kicked and squealed, but the wolf was fast. Faster than any rescue. And in a matter of seconds, he vanished into the ravine. Hours passed. The sun had disappeared. The desert was now bathed in moonlight, cold and quiet. The mother Mustang stood at the edge of the cliffs, pacing, crying softly into the night. Her herd had moved on, but she remained, searching, hoping, waiting. Meanwhile, deep in the canyon below, the wolf lay curled around the foal. But something was strange. The foal wasn't hurt. His body trembled with fear, but he was untouched, not a single drop of blood. The wolf, breathing heavily, didn't attack. He didn't bite. He just lay there, watching the baby with something in his eyes that wasn't hunger. It was sorrow. The foal whimpered. The wolf slowly rose, walked a few paces away, and came back dragging something, a rabbit. Dead, freshly caught. He nudged it toward the foal, who recoiled in fear. But the wolf didn't insist. He simply lay down again, curling his body to shield the foal from the chill of the desert night. It made no sense. Why would a predator spare its prey? Flashback to earlier that week. The wolf's own den, once filled with 3 tiny pups, all lost in a sudden flood. He had returned to silence, to emptiness. And then he saw the foal. Maybe it was instinct. Maybe it was grief. But in that moment, the wolf had made a decision not even he fully understood. Morning came. The foal was still alive, and so was the wolf, now standing on guard like a protector, not a captor. And the mother Mustang? She hadn't moved. Her hooves were raw from pacing, her eyes sunken from exhaustion. But then, a sound. Faint, echoing up from the canyon. She froze. The cry of her baby. End of section 1. The Mustang mother bolted forward, sliding dangerously down the rocky slope, her heart pounding like thunder in her chest. Every instinct screamed to reach her baby. She followed the sound with desperation, hooves stumbling and scraping against the canyon floor. Dust rose around her legs, but she didn't stop. Couldn't stop. At the bottom, through a narrow cluster of rocks, she finally saw him. The foal. Alive. Lying quietly beside a creature she should have feared, the wolf. She froze. Her breath caught in her throat. Every fiber of her being urged her to charge, to defend, to fight. But the scene before her wasn't one of violence. The wolf didn't growl, didn't bare his teeth. Instead, he stood slowly and backed away, lowering his head submissively. The foal saw his mother and gave a weak, joy-filled cry. She rushed to him. The mother nudged her baby, nuzzling his tiny face and licking the dust from his body. He squealed, stood shakily, and buried himself in her warmth. Her heart broke at the feel of him, alive and whole. She turned her gaze to the wolf, and for a long moment they simply stared at one another. Predator and prey, enemies by nature. But something much older, much deeper, passed between them, an understanding born of grief and love. The mother didn't run. The wolf didn't chase. Instead, he turned and began to limp away. Not defeated. Not angry. just alone. Days passed. The herd returned, led by the mother who had found what no one thought possible, a lost baby, safe from the wild. The foal stayed close by her side, never straying again. But the story didn't end there. Every few days, from the ridge high above the canyon, a shadow would appear. A lone wolf watching from a distance. Never closer, never threatening, just watching. The foal would lift his head, ears flicking in recognition. And the mother would stand protectively, but no longer with fear. There was something almost sacred in the silence between them. One stormy night, as thunder cracked across the desert, the foal stood outside the sheltering brush. The wind howled and lightning flashed. The mother neighed for him to come back, but the foal didn't move.
He had seen something.
A limp figure struggling up the rocky path. The wolf. Injured.
Weak.
His side gashed from a mountain cat attack. He collapsed beneath a bush, shivering and gasping. The foal took a cautious step forward, then another, and finally stood beside the creature who once stole him and saved him. The Mustang mother came forward, slow and wary. But the wolf didn't move. He had no strength left. She looked at her foal, then at the wolf, and made a choice. They stayed. All night, shielding the wolf from the wind. Standing guard. By morning, the wolf opened his eyes to the rising sun, and to the sight of the very beings he once hunted, now offering him protection. He didn't understand it, but he felt it. He rose slowly, gave one last look to the foal, and walked away. This time for good. But in the wild hearts of the desert, a bond had been forged, not of blood, not of species, but of something far more powerful. Forgiveness. And the kind of love that doesn't need to be explained. End of story.